I am pressing recording, so I'll welcome everybody. Hi, everybody. This is Bess, Auer, and John Peripillant welcoming you to Blog Talk Tuesdays. And we've got Dan McGaw in the house as well as Joshua Johnson. And you know what? They've changed the chat room a little bit. To me, it's dark.
Yeah, I noticed that.
So it kind of surprised me.
Yeah.
So the topic today, Rock O Steady, is, well, it's always social media, always blogging, always technology. But we invited Joshua Johnson on because he's doing some pretty cool stuff right here in Orlando. We're all Orlando-based people here right now. Joshua is the lead advocate for rethinking homelessness. So, wait, that's not right. Rethink homelessness.
Right.
Yeah. So, Josh, why don't you jump on real quick and tell us some of the cool stuff you've done with that? Because you use technology kind of in a cool way.
Sure. So, my background is in marketing, and essentially I joined the team to help kind of raise awareness and bring the issue of homelessness to the forefront in our community here in Orlando. And so we did that through, primarily using social media, using video and pictures, putting together a few videos that have, done fairly well, gotten a good amount of traffic, just to kind of elevate that issue and help communicate to our community that it's a worthwhile effort and that we need to help these people.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so I think probably one of your biggest splashes was the video that George Takei and lots of people, I think the Ellen Show showed it.
Oh, no kidding.
Is that right? Didn't she show it?
I don't remember if she showed it. George Takei definitely did. William Shatner did. A number of other celebrities did. And then a number of news outlets around the world showed it. And it was actually very interesting because we got more play from international media than we actually did from our national media here in the States.
Oh, wow.
Really?
Well, so I'm going to go find the link for that YouTube video and put it up so our viewers can see it. So
Awesome.
While we're doing that, Dan, why don't you jump on and tell us a little bit about what you're doing here in Orlando? You're doing some pretty cool stuff as far as effing amazing. You're pretty effing amazing.
Yeah, we always have it on the shirts. Be amazing. Yeah, so effing amazing. We're just a data and growth hacking agency. So we help companies make money off of their data. We help them turn it into action so they know how to improve their metrics. We get to hang out with cool people like Joshua Johnson and kind of learn what they're doing. Recently was at your blog event and stuff like that. So just always having fun, always throwing events, just trying to make everything better.
Well, fantastic. Hi, Jeff Adams. I'm glad that you're here. In fact, Jeff Adams, I was just talking about you to Rudy Ellis of Joycaster. So I know he's a big fan of yours. And hi, City Wit. Whitney is in the house. So I love the chat room. I just posted the video to that Rethink Homelessness. So it was cardboard stories. Joshua, how did you guys think of that? Because it's a pretty unique way that you do that storytelling that I think a lot of people could learn from.
Sure. So, we got down and just kind of talked about different ways we could raise awareness and think about how we could kind of drive that conversation. And one of the things that we realized, specifically as I was spending time on the streets and getting to know everybody, I'm getting a huge echo.
Nope, you sound good to us.
Yeah.
Okay. I'll just take this off for a second then.
There you go.
We wanted to help kind of drive the conversation around this issue of homelessness. And we realized that one of the major things we had to do was help people to realize that the people who are living on our streets, here in downtown Orlando and everywhere else around the world, really are just like us. The primary difference being the fact that they don't have a home to go to at night. And so, we basically had people, we would hand them a piece of cardboard and we would hand them a Sharpie, and we'd simply ask them to write something on their piece of cardboard that the people who walk by them every day would not know about them. And that was it. So, for some people, that was something that was very positive, something that they had accomplished, a goal that they had reached or a milestone they had reached. And for other people, it was partly the explanation about how they ended up becoming homeless. If they were fleeing from domestic abuse, they were abandoned by their family at a young age, things like that. And so, as we did that, people started to it started resonate with people. The feedback that we were getting from the community was, wow, I didn't realize I had that much in common with the people that I walk by every day. And then I just kind of I dismissed them as being a drug addict or an alcoholic or somebody who, earned their way into homelessness essentially. And that was really the goal. And since then, we've seen interactions with people around the world. In fact, just recently, this last week, I saw a video. Somebody in India put together their own cardboard stores video featuring people who live in India, who are homeless in India. And they used, the exact same sign. In fact, at the end, they used one of the signs that we created in their video. So that was pretty amazing to see, how that had traveled all the way around.
Wow. So you have imitators doing good with it, though.
Yeah, and there was actually one that we found a while back that was created at like a Comic-Con type conference, where they'd kind of taken that same concept of people trying to describe who they were when they're not at Comic-Con. So it's been kind of imitated in a couple different areas. But
That's awesome.
Who they are when they're not at Comic-Con?
Yeah,
Hilarious.
so it was kind of surprising. Like one person was like a jet propulsion scientist at NASA, which I guess wouldn't be that stereotypical. Yeah.
Hilarious. Oh my gosh. So I'm going to stop everybody for just a minute, just to kind of go over a little bit about Blab, because we have a lot of newcomers. So up above us, you'll see all those little bubbles up there. Those are the people that are in the room right now. If you hover with your mouse above them, you'll see who they are, and you can click follow them if they look interesting. Hopefully you're continuing to grow kind of your Blab network, so you will choose to follow them. Over to your, I think it's maybe your left, you'll see tell a little bird. So if you're enjoying the conversation, you can tweet that out. And what that does, it does a ready-made tweet for you. And it goes to all your followers on Twitter to let them know that we're live here. And then, of course, we've got the chat room over to the right-hand side. So a lot of people in here. Welcome, Jim Skaggs. Glad you're here. So, John, you know that storytelling is a big part of what we have to do through social media.
Yeah.
You want to join in on that?
I kind of wanted to tag on to what Joshua was talking about, because, that's a very, very unique way of giving, these people that are on the streets a little bit of a story about maybe why they're there, how they got there. From time to time, like I kind of see them panhandling, on the corners or whatnot. And, I may give something and I may not, but I tell you what, to see someone that's holding a sign that gives a little bit of insight into why they may be there, right, will at least hit home. You know what I mean? And it'll make you think about it, and it'll probably make you take more action than just walking by like you normally would, because you're kind of used. You may be used to seeing that, whether that's here in Orlando or abroad. So kudos to you, Josh, because I think that's a very, very good idea. And to tie that into storytelling, I think that's a huge thing. It's obviously storytelling has been around for a very long time, but those that can actually tie in a story, whether it's, with their website, with their marketing, with their social media, that's what kind of keeps people engaged. And it also kind of keeps people wanting more. Once they understand what the story is, and can conceptualize the story, they're going to want more of it. And if you're able to tailor it in a way to where they can subscribe to it and they can see that this is happening on a regular basis, you're going to start to, win a really good audience that's going to be, almost like cheerleaders for you and looking, almost like watching a television show that you're anticipating to see what's going to happen next, what's going to happen next, what's going to happen next. So that's the way I see that.
So, Dan, you're kind of in a unique position with where you've located your offices in Orlando. You're revitalizing kind of a neighborhood that was kind of forgotten a little bit about.
Yeah, so our office is in the center of the Paramore district, which is just outside of downtown, so maybe a mile outside. It's not exactly the most prominent community. It's kind of suffered from a lot of bad things have happened there. Homeless shelters have all been centralized there. There's been a lot of desegregation that's kind of been moved over there. We put our office there, and one of our claims of our company is definitely making sure that we can help communities grow. We've done that so far there. We have had a lot of really cool things happen, but we have a kind of a three-prong approach to it. Is first, we want to kind of change the perception of the district. We want to help expose the people in that district to a different means of life. And then lastly, we want to provide them opportunity to kind of change the way that they think about their career, their life, or even starting a business.
God, you guys, I feel like such a loser because I don't do any of this stuff. I'm just so honored to know you guys. I feel like you guys kind of rub off on me, and I'm doing well through you all. Does that totally cheat and count for it?
I just have to say I stole it from Josh. So Josh gave me a lot of the inspiration, and then it really made me reflect on kind of the things that we do just naturally in our community. And I came to the conclusion I'm tired of making rich people just richer, and I'd rather figure out another way to help the community, and this was a better means of doing it. So I actually have to give my kudos for Josh for being the kind of the leader in this and having somebody else to follow and kind of do that.
I'm going to give high fives to Josh down there. So those little hand things, they really don't count for anything at all. You don't accumulate them from blab to blab. They're just kind of like high fives, like you're awesome. So there we go. I'll give you guys all some.
Yeah.
So tying this kind of into at least what bloggers do. So of course, our definition of bloggers are, text, post blogs, photo blogs, videos, podcasting, kind of everything that goes along with that. Mm-hmm. So Josh, you all chose the format of video. You of course hope what everybody hopes that's going to go viral. Are there any tips that any of you guys for any of those formats for catching attention? Because homelessness is not the most popular thing for people to talk or read or watch about. Mm-hmm. And you all tackled it in a way that really was very compelling. So from a blogger or from a marketer point of view, what are some of each one of yours individual best tips, not necessarily for video, but just in any best tips for our viewers watching? Joshua, why don't you start?
For us, unfortunately, what we knew we had to accomplish is that we had to get people to care. And sometimes that can be the most difficult thing. And so, you mentioned storytelling, and that was going to be the core for us, because unless you can look at somebody that's homeless and you can identify with them, you can see them as, resembling your father or your sister or your aunt or your best friend from high school. Mm-hmm. Unless you do that, it's much more difficult to really kind of connect with who they are and maybe what their circumstances are. And so it starts with storytelling and creating compelling content, right? And our compelling content was a group of individuals that live in downtown Orlando. And then from there, there isn't a magic sauce. Sure, we made several different videos and we've created lots of blog posts and taken lots of pictures and we're on Instagram and Twitter and Facebook and everywhere else as well. But it's what you then go do with that content. Just having compelling content alone is not enough. You have to work on getting that content into the right hands. You have to figure out how you get that content into the hands of bloggers, how you get that into the hands of various news outlets and celebrities. And so, with the Cardboard Stories video, we didn't just create the video, put it on YouTube, and then just watch it go crazy. We created the video, we put it on YouTube, and then we started reaching out to everybody to make sure that they knew that video existed. And so, locally, we had about 30,000 views, I think, in the first 2 weeks, which we were very happy with that result, because our goal was specific to Central Florida. And we made a video saying, thank you very much for sharing it. We appreciate the fact that this word is spreading throughout the community. And I think it was like the next day or maybe 2 days later when one of those big things paid off, and that was when George Takei shared it for the first time. But we'd reached out to him as well as a number of other people to make sure that we were increasing opportunities.
How did you reach out to George Takei?
Yeah.
How do you reach out to him?
Through Facebook, I believe.
Okay.
Yeah.
I didn't know if you had his personal phone number or anything. I was going to hit you up.
I might. No, it was one of those things where, we were looking at different celebrities and the types of content that they share. And that was in line with some of the things, the social causes that he has kind of stood behind. And we went through and we looked at a long list of celebrities, for example, that we knew had experienced homelessness themselves at some point in the past. And so obviously there's a stronger chance, especially since their struggle with homelessness had been made public previously. So it wasn't like we weren't outing them for anything. They had talked about it publicly, and the odds of them being more engaged with that content and that material and those people was significantly higher. And that's how that worked.
Wow, fantastic. All right. So Dan, your best tips for if you're talking to a blogger or somebody or a marketer that really wants to create something really compelling, what are your best tips for that?
Yeah, I really think a lot of it comes down to even before you even start, which is kind of building your plan and really starting to get everything lined out to see how the moving pieces are going to work together. I think just like Josh said that, obviously it takes a compelling story, it requires distribution, things like that. But a lot of times what I see people do, they're like, I'm going to go viral. They create something and then they just start spitting it at people. And it's like, you really have to go into this thoughtfully and kind of start out this is our thought process. This is the way that we're going to go about it. This is the way we're looking at messaging this. These are the markets it's going to apply to. And then these are our potential distribution partners. And I think that just like Josh said, in regards to seeding it and getting it out there, even in my world of content marketing, it's the number one thing that people forget to do. There's I write a blog post, I make a video, I put it on my blog, it's going to go viral. they don't do anything with it. I'm like, you have to put that so people can find it, and you have to get it so it kind of spreads out. So we typically start out with planning way in advance on who should we be looking at, how can we learn more about that person. So when we do finally reach out to them, it's not like, hey, share my stuff. It's more like, hey, I saw your daughter just had soccer practice last week. Looked really, really cool on Instagram. Are you into soccer? To start some sort of dialogue rather than just like, hey, share my shit, dude. Do it. Do it. Please do it. It's like,
love it.
Nobody's just going to do it if it's a cold lead.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, but at the same time, that's my space is kind of planning everything out and figuring it out. So I think start out with a plan, then attack.
I think that Lady KK, lock it up, liked what you were saying there. You got a lot of high fives. Welcome, Lady KK. And Marco Santana, welcome, Marco. So glad you guys are joining us. Once again, so we have the chat room to the side. Hello, Lady KK. If you guys have any tips in the chat room, all our seats are taken right now because you can only have 4 at a time. But go ahead and put some of your best tips to make that creating compelling content available to people and how to drive it out there. So put your best tips in the chat room. So John, what do you have for us? You advise a lot of people on the same thing.
I have a couple of things, but I kind of wanted to tie into what Joshua was saying because we learned a lot about this at Florida BlogCon when talking about using social media influencers. And so, you know, you're using George. You know, I did kind of want to hear a little bit about if you thought about anybody else other than George, or, you know, did it just pick up from, you know, going with him, or because I learned a lot about that, and I'm looking forward to actually trying that myself over the next couple of weeks. I have a project that I'm going to put out, doing a couple of interviews with some local photographers, so we can kind of get our names out there as well, put a face behind the photos. But you know, when we learned about using social media influencers, I was like, oh, that's a great idea.
So Joshua, who else did you all reach out to?
I mean, it was a pretty long list, and it wasn't just social, media influencers. It was traditional media as well. You know, again, it's about really determining, who is most likely who's your target market, right? Who is most likely going to benefit or have interest in what you're trying to accomplish. And there's literally, like, for us, there's multiple articles that have been written in the past that talk about several different people that are now, very famous and have huge followings on social media. The Rock, Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. I think Dr. Phil was homeless at one point. Tyler Perry. There's Joel. There's a long list of people, and all of them have big audiences. And so we knew that there was a good chance that we would be able to get their attention because of the type of content we were sharing. But also it's looking to see who else locally is interacting, right? So because there's people that are local that have big audiences. And some of that was just kind of soliciting people to say, hey, reach out to people in your network and just share this. And, I noticed one night, for example, we were doing an event at a hockey game with the Solar Bears. And I think it was one of the anchors from Channel 6. And he was tweeting William Shatner, saying, hey, would you share this? Because every time a tweet was posted using our hashtag, the Solar Bears were donating $1 to our cause. And so he reached out to William Shatner. And then so I was like, well, if he's going to, I will too. And next, several people reached out to him. Next, William Shatner's reposting it.
That's cool.
So, it's just paying attention to what's going on around you, having a plan, but then being flexible. So when you see a new opportunity, open up, you don't just stick to that plan. You allow some room to divert and grab what comes up.
So Captain Kirk tweeted about it. That's awesome.
I like that.
Yeah. So we had Captain Kirk. Yep.
That's awesome.
So I'm interested. So I know, so Dan, you spoke at our recent Florida Blogger conference, and you were talking about email marketing. And I know you have a lot of good input. Before I go to you, Joshua, did you all employ email marketing at all in that campaign?
Not heavily. So we definitely use email, but much more so to communicate with our local community about what's going on. There wasn't a big drive to really generate an email campaign for awareness for the issue. For what we're doing, we knew that video and pictures were really big. And we knew what we were doing. It needed to be driven through the community. And the reality is, from what I've seen, and Dan can probably share more expertise on this, email isn't shared the same way a Facebook post is, or the same way a viral YouTube video is, right? Like, you don't see, I don't know about you guys, but I don't get memes in my email very often.
Right.
But I see them on Facebook and Instagram all day long. And that's
I get them all the time.
For.
I get memes all the time in my inbox.
Oh, really? Okay. Well, I don't.
But you got to understand, I work with a lot of developers, so I get like the craziest emails ever.
Right. So, we're looking for the people who are very social. And these are the people who are sharing and getting their information via Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. And they probably don't spend as much time in their email box. So part of that is, again, knowing who your audience is, knowing who you're trying to target, and determining the best way to get to them.
Start out with a plan. See, there you go. Know this, know that. Start out with a plan.
Yeah.
So, Dan, before we go to you to talk a little bit about email marketing, I just want to welcome Mission Impersonal. Rob is in the chat room, and we have Willem Ungerman. And just a reminder, Be Big Online also joined. Guys, if you have tips, your best tips for creating compelling content or even how to get it out there, make sure you put it in the chat room. Hello, Willem. Welcome.
Hey.
So, and also tell us where you're tuning in from. So the four of us are all Orlando based. And I know that we had somebody from Tampa. So Australia, welcome them. I can't do an Australian accent for you. You would laugh at me. So maybe not. In Boston. All right. Well, welcome, guys. Be sure to put your best tips for creating compelling content in there. All right. So Dan, tell us all about what you know, because you know a ton about a lot of different stuff, but specifically email marketing.
Well, I mean, just to kind of like tie it into Josh's part where he was talking more about like how do you get, like, you don't typically see people sharing email, so on and so forth. Like that typically is going to happen a lot more in social media and other channels. And one, because like the principle of social media was to share. The principle of email was not to share. It was just effectively communicate individual messages. So more private lanes of communication are what happen in email. But I will say that, like, if you do send a lot of email and you're trying to make it so that it is shareable content, don't make it hard to share by having it so that whatever you have in your email is 600 words, there's 9 images, and then there's these little tiny share links. Make it so that the email actually is something that's digestible on social media, that can be shared on social media, and as well as easy to share. So for an example, as Josh was saying, you don't see memes a lot of time in email. I was recently presenting at 500 startups down in Miami, and they have this concept called the distro snack, which is a daily tip. I shouldn't say daily, but a tip they email out to their email list. But it's literally maybe 150 characters in there, and it's got a meme inside of there that's a GIF. And they make it so it's very, very small. It's very focused, so it is shareable. But when you click on any of the share buttons, it pre-fills the text. It makes it nice and easy. So you can get some shares. But obviously, compared to social media, it's not going to have as much lift. So you definitely have to focus on it. But I mean, I think the number one mistake that we see all email marketers do is they simply try to accomplish too much. People
is there a magic length as far as like how many stories? One topic.
I was going to say, yeah.
No more than 300 words and one call to action.
Oh my God.
If you have an objective to serve, right? If you have a newsletter, every link that you leave decreases by 20% click-through. So for an example, all of the clicks inside of your email, the first one will get probably about 80%. The next one underneath will get 60% and continue to go down. So by the time you get to the 5th link of an email, if it's leading to a new place, you maybe are going to get 5%, 2%, or 0% click-through.
Yeah. I need to do some A/B testing because for Florida Swim Network, we send kind of a roundup email once a week with the title Stories You May Have Missed. And we put about probably 10 to 15 stories in there. We'll do the image with a little blurb and then link to it.
Now, I will say for the recap emails and for newsletters, you're still going to get a lot more engagement. But if you look in the emails that you have, I bet you, other than, I mean, if we think about your target demographic, these different things aren't talking about the same subject. They're different locations. So each person who's receiving that recap, one location is applicable to them. So they're going to search for that one location. So once again, like the target demographic matters a lot because people will scan to find their specific swim meet rather than only read the one at the top because that's what they care about. I mean, people are looking for direct advice there.
Well, I know you're real big on A/B testing, and I've actually never done it with email, so I probably need to start doing it.
Who are you using for email?
I use MailChimp.
Yeah, they just came out with all their A/B testing tools. So, like, definitely a lot of stuff. The only thing I can say is make sure you check your statistical significance and comparing the stuff. We can talk about that at another time. It's kind of complex. But I don't want you to call it false positive. False positives are bad when you call a test as a winner and there's not enough data to say it is a winner. You'll end up picking a losing version and think it's the winner just because you don't have enough data.
All right.
I wanted to jump in behind Dan on that one. Like I get your emails. I'm on your email list for effing amazing, and yours. And there was another one that I get from Envato. And when I first started doing, and I don't do it as often. I'm trying to do it now, like at least once a month. And when I first started doing my newsletters, I'd have like, image blurb, and then I'd have like all this stuff on the side. I had like a bigger column and then a smaller side column. And that smaller side column had like smaller images and a blur, small images, blurb, and so on. And I noticed that when I switched over to what I'm doing recently, and I'm probably still doing a little bit more than I should, but I'm doing now, it's like one column, graphic, small blurb, and then graphic, small blurb. I think I did 3 in my last one. And I noticed that my open rate, my click-through rate was a lot better. I did have maybe about 3 different links to different articles, one linking back to my recent blog post, another one linking off to, some of the things. But I do notice that. I think that you're absolutely right with having just, one thing that you're going to talk about in a nice size or maybe a good size call to action that's very easy, legible to read and like engaging. I think that probably works a lot better. And then maybe with that, maybe send out more newsletters, maybe more frequently that have other pieces of content that you wanted to, send out instead of just doing one with everything in there, like maybe overloading.
Yeah. For FL BlogCon, I do just that one a month that's got a ton in it. So maybe I'll start doing that every other week. That's
interesting. Yeah, that's an interesting point. I definitely want to try that out.
We don't have a newsletter. We just send 1 email per week. And that's what you're told when you sign up, like get the weekly email. And we have a lot more engagement than when we did the newsletters.
I might switch to that. Good. I'm glad we did this.
Yeah.
So Joshua, I know I promised you a half hour. If you need to jump off, just let us know. Not a problem at all, but love to have you on.
I have to leave. I'm already 6 minutes late for another meeting. So.
Well, thank you for joining, Dan. We appreciate
it. Again next time, Dan.
Yeah.
Bye, everybody. It's great to test out Blab. And Joshua, I'll talk to you soon. And everybody enjoy the rest of your day.
All right.
Thank you.
So everybody else that will leave an empty seat, if you want to jump on and ask a question, we have some questions in the chat room. Willem, if you want to jump on there so we can hear your Australian accent, jump on there with us. If you want to jump on, you should see a empty square that says join. You just click join. All we ask is that you have either a good internet connection and a light on your face so we can see who you are. So the question that we had, and it was from Willem, it said, can I ask you guys if you know if Instagram's algorithm has changed? A bit off topic, not really. It's still marketing. So anybody know anything about Instagram's algorithm?
So I was going to say for him to, and I just typed it in there, but I was typing it as you were saying that, but you probably want to send a message out to, or send a tweet out to Dan, on Twitter, and he'll definitely reach back out to you. He may already have some stuff, on their website, or maybe they've already written about it where it can give you a little bit more insight. But to me, he'd be probably the best person to ask about that. I don't know if you have anything to add to that, Josh, or if you know any more to help him out with that.
I don't know of any specific changes, but as with anything else, everything is constantly changing. And obviously, they've made some pretty big changes with the format, the layout, and then also now with ads. And so anytime something like that is implemented, that's going to directly affect all of these other users, because obviously those are going to get some priority over the content that you would naturally, organically see. So I know that I've noticed some changes with some of the accounts that I manage, and several other accounts that I'm aware of have seen some changes where there's been less engagement with the same type of content that's been successful in the past.
Interesting.
All right, so I'm going to welcome to the show Mission Impersonal.
Hi, my name's Johnny.
Hi, Johnny. How are you doing?
Johnny,
good. How you doing?
Good. Where did you told us, I think, where you were tuning in from. Where was it?
I'm north of Boston in Reading, Mass.
Well, welcome.
Thank you.
What you got for us, or do you have any news about Instagram?
Well, no, I don't know about any algorithms. I'm not that into. I'm actually like an artist / musician who is using the internet as a tool more than you guys are into it, but I need to know this stuff. But so I'm trying to find a happy medium of doing what I want to do, but also figure out how to get what I'm doing out there. You know what I mean? Because there's so much internet stuff that I'm finding it hard to focus on playing music. Well, I guess because I'm starting up. I'm sure it will slow down once I figure out all that. I have app upon app. I got people helping me, but it's still oh man, I feel like you're digging out of a hole to get you know, to the place of showing people what I'm doing. You know what I mean? It's like a lot of the internet work instead of doing what I want to be doing right now. So
have you noticed any medium that you've been using social media wise that's been your most engaging or most rewarding?
So I mean, I don't want to. Oh, sorry, I disappeared. I don't want to offend anyone, but like I think Blab is great, but is it just a lot of wannabe like podcasters? That's the thing. That's like every single one I've been on turns into. I'm doing it right now, but like talking about like someone else's show. But that's like I'm trying to get information about how to do my show, you know. But on Blab, I love it. Like I get followers, but I'm like, what does that really mean? Like, do I have a lot of people that want to be podcasters following me, or are they following me because they like my stuff? You know what I mean?
Part of that is up to you to determine and figure out. You need to talk to your audience and figure out who they are, and you also need to have different goals and objectives for any platform you're going to approach. You know, just building up followers on Instagram is cool if you just want numbers, but the reality is, unless those people are willing to, you know, click on your bio and go back to your blog or go back to your website, or click on affiliate links and things like that, what good are they really, other than, you know, stroking your ego?
So that's exactly where I'm at, because I don't care about the ego thing. You know what I mean? It's like I'm already here. I want it to be going to the right place, but you know what I mean? Am I like just getting self gratification out of, oh, I got a Blab follower? Well, what's a Blab follower? You know,
John, I would let me ask you real quick, Johnny. So Blab is brand new. It's funny because it was just a few weeks ago that I even tuned into my first Blab, and I did it because I knew I was going to be trying to do this show with John, and I'm like, all right, I got to figure out how Blab even works. Mm-hmm. So I spent an entire day listening to Blab. I turned off the TV. I work from home, and so I just had Blab playing in the background. I went from show to show to show. And it was funny because it did seem a lot of people that, put it this way, there were a lot of people that knew some incredible stuff that were really people I look up to. That I'm like, wow, they know their stuff. And then there were a lot of Blabs of people that didn't really seem to know that much, but were talking like they did.
Exactly. I see a lot of that. Yeah.
And then I would see the same blabbers go from show to the next show. And there was one guy that I listened to on 6 different Blabs. I'm like, do you not have a job? So I totally.
Well, that's what. And then like, so the other day I was on one with this guy. He was in from England. He just played us this amazing song, right? Like I couldn't even believe that the audio worked. And now I'm a musician, and I'm like, I get on there, I'm ready to ask the guy a question, and one of those guys comes into the room, right, and pretends that he's a songwriter. And I'm like, dude, I just saw you on something else, and like I was like really happy. I'm like, okay, it's coming together. Like I'm meeting another musician from England right now, and then whoop, here comes this dude, and he totally takes it over. And it's like the dude from England's like sitting there, like, what are we talking about? Like he. Like just totally, and that's what I'm saying. Like, where's the real? You know what I mean?
I think Blab is a little bit unique as far as social media. The simply being because it is all right. First of all, I
think it's Blab. New, so like everyone.
It's so new, and Periscope was the same way. You saw people jump on Periscope and Periscope all the time, and suddenly they were a Periscope guru.
Yeah, in their mind, they really are, though. I think.
Right.
Yeah, but like Blab, the day I was watching, this one guy said, I've been blabbing. I've been on Blab forever. Blab has only been out of alpha for like 130 days. Yeah. So it's crazy that they're calling themselves gurus at Blab because nobody is, because it's so darn new. But,
right, but they can because people are like, oh, well, there was nothing there before it. So like people are going, oh, they must be, and they're not.
They do that though. I mean, it's almost everywhere. I'm not even.
But that's like that's the nature.
You get on Twitter, you get on some tweet chats and stuff like that, and all of a sudden they're saying they're the gurus of this. They know everything with this too. So it really is everywhere.
Right.
You kind of have to weed through that.
That's what I mean. That's like figuring out when you say figure out your audience, Joshua. That's the thing, because like you go talk to your audience, and I'm going, I don't know who it is because I feel like there's a lot of trolls or whatever you would call it. Just like so they're not really my audience. They're just someone that's in there, in that room, I guess.
One of the things that I would say is I would say to continue to try this out and the other channels that you're doing, right? But you also want to create your profile and have a way that people can, or either set up a call to action. through either through your profile, maybe on your homepage and your website, that if that's the first page that they get to, so that way you can kind of understand, see where people are coming from. And then also you can get a better chance to engage with them further outside of these mediums that you're using.
Right.
And then that'll give you a sense of what your audience is probably either used to, what they're going to appreciate from you, things like that. And then after some time, you got to try these things out, right? You never know. After some time, then you'll start to realize, oh, you know what? If I spend more time on Blab, maybe my own Blab, instead of jumping on with others, or maybe spend more time on Twitter, maybe spend more time on SoundCloud, and then take
what could I do more on Twitter?
What's that?
What could I do more on Twitter or something?
I
have like 15 Twitter followers. It's pathetic.
So
I don't know how to grow that. So
my best tips for Twitter, because Twitter is actually my favorite form of communication. So my first advice that I give to anybody, if you're trying to grow your Twitter following, you need to be tweeting a lot during the day. So when I consult companies, I'm like, you need to be tweeting at least 30 times a day, and they freak out. I'm like, 10 times in the morning, 10 times at lunch, 10 times in the evening, not that hard.
Well, I found this buddy that's helping me. He showed me an app called I can't remember, but it you can set up your tweets to be put out there during the day. You can. That day, you know what I mean? Because you want to be current, you know what I mean?
So be leery of auto tweeting. It's called auto tweeting. If you can be authentic, you can be, it's not that long. You grab your phone, you do a couple tweets. But the second tip I have is retweet other people's stuff more often than you tweet.
That's good. So that's what I should be doing. Yeah. Because do you feel like people follow you because of that? Because that's what I got to figure out.
In fact, I know they do. And the thing, you don't want to be tweeting what other people had for lunch. You want to be finding musicians on there that are tweeting great information. Retweet people that are in your industry that you admire, that you like, that tweet out great information. Retweet those types of things, and therefore you become a source of great information about music and musicians.
Yeah, so you're kind of like the collector of that information, and then you put it out there. So it's
you really need to back up, and before you do any of that, before you're even on Twitter, on Blab, on anything, you need to determine which platforms you should be on, not necessarily which platforms you want to be on. And you need to determine what you're trying to gain or how you're trying to benefit from being there. Simply because Blab exists doesn't mean you should be on Blab. And just because Twitter's there and there's a lot of people there doesn't mean you should be there either. And you have to determine what are my goals and what's the reason behind those goals? If your goal is to get a recording contract, and Twitter may not be the place where all of the record execs hang out. It probably is, but say it's not. Maybe you should actually be spending your time on LinkedIn.
Right.
You have to I'm not just jumping from platform to platform and I'm going to go there and figure out what I do when I'm there. You need to have a goal and a mission. Otherwise, the entire time you're treading water and you're not going to make any headway in any direction.
Well, yeah. So what I did with Blab is I have I'm interviewing people on Blab. This is why I like Blab, because I can find other musicians out there that don't have to sit down with me to be interviewed. So I've been doing a couple of those. So I know that this is something I'm going to have a show on Blab. I know that, and I already got some stuff on YouTube. Why? Because why am I going to?
Yes.
Well, because that's my whole thing is, how do I get my art out there? And I know this is a way, and I know if I can find other people that are like-minded as me, and I can interview interesting people and get people interested in them, then I'm starting a community.
But why Blab?
Why Blab? Because like I said, I can interview. You're in Florida right now. You know what I mean?
Sure.
So if I knew a musician
we could do a Google Hangout. You could do an interview with me where you record it. Post
yeah,
it
but Blab
YouTube,
I can take and put onto YouTube. You know what I mean? So then people are going to my YouTube if they're watching the show. I did the show with these puppets. It's actually pretty funny if you check it out. But I'm doing shows that I put up to YouTube. So it's not that I don't have a point. I feel like Joshua thinks I have no point.
No, I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that. What I'm doing is challenging it, because it is important that you know why you're doing it. I don't care why.
No, I like it. I'm not taking offense to it. I'm just saying that it's good. It's good stuff. Yeah. Because I think that goes back to the fact of when people jump on it. Like you're asking me, I wish you were asking, or I asked those questions to the guy when he jumped on, and I was having that good conversation, and I could be like, because I didn't want to be offensive, because then I'd come off as the guy that's yelling at people. You know what I mean? Dude, you're not a writer. I'm not about to tell the guy he's not a writer. But when you're saying stuff that doesn't sound like a writer, what else am I supposed to say? Are you supposed to keep up the charade, or do I become the a-hole that's dude, can you leave us alone? Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's weird.
Absolutely. Yeah. But I think, you find that on any social media. You're going to have trolls and posers on Facebook. You definitely see them on Twitter. I mean, I think you're going to have that no matter what social media you go to. And so I think, Johnny, you nailed it. We each have to decide, do I want to have John as my guest host? Does he know what he's talking about? So you kind of have to evaluate that personally. But Joshua has a great point. And really, I think any great marketer will tell you. In fact, Mark Krapinski from Code School was the first that really nailed this into my head. Don't be on a social media just because you have to be on it. Define why you're on that social media. And I think that's why Joshua was saying, why are you on Blab? And it sounds like you've actually thought it through. You're on Blab because you can connect with people worldwide. You can see them face to face. You could play a song for us right now, and we'd be able to watch it. And then it is great because it records it for you, and you can then put it on YouTube. It gives you the audio that you can upload. In fact, for when I approached John about doing this show, and, we're trying out Blab. I enjoy it. I think we'll keep continuing. But if I really don't get any traction to get people then to watch Blog Talk TV, is it really working for me other than just to be able to say, hey, I have a show on Tuesday mornings?
How much have you seen on Blab, just to ask you? Like, how much do you say you did that day? Like, because I think you got 18 people right now. I mean, that's pretty solid, I think. But like I said, I've only been on for a month. But this is helpful. See, you guys are being helpful. So like, there you go. Now you should be on. You know what I mean? Like when you ask, should you be on Blab? I would say yes, because I've already been helped. It seems like people in the comments are being helped. So like, that's a good, you know what I mean? I guess just so you're probably on the right track. Because
Johnny, I do have to say our viewership went up when you came on. So I think I would attribute that to you, not us.
Thanks. Me in my basement. Yeah. So what I was doing is I turned my basement into a studio here. Because I think with the internet now, like, there's no excuses. Like, if you want to have a show, or, like Joshua says, say you figure yourself out, right? And you're saying, I got a show, I got a really good idea. Now, what I'm doing is I'm trying to show people there is no reason with the internet now that if you want to have a show, like, you don't complain, oh, ABC didn't pick me up. Start a show. And guess what? If you have 3 people following you, that's 3 more people than yesterday that even knew you were alive. You know what I mean? So like, that's what, and I think you guys are doing great.
Well, thank you, Johnny. Johnny,
but I've only been here for 30 days. So.
Well, I haven't been here much longer, so we're all trying it out. So
awesome. I'm gonna hop up and let you guys keep doing it, because I'll just keep talking.
I'm gonna invite Chef Dennis on, because he would be he's the one that introduced me to Blab. So Dennis, if you're out there, I would love to. Yay, he's coming on.
Hi, Bess.
Hi. Do you know Don and Joshua?
I know him. Yes, I do.
Hey, Dennis.
Fantastic. So Dennis, for our viewers at home, is from the Orlando area, via where? Philadelphia or someplace?
Yeah.
Philadelphia. And he introduced me to Blab. He's like, Bess, love Blab. Tell us what it is you love about it. Why is this a great medium for you?
I like the engagement level. Just right now, you can see, and the ease of bringing new people in to the stream to talk to live. So, and as you can see too, if you jumped on this morning, you see like the whole format's a little different now. They changed it. They're constantly working on this, so they're not just sitting back. I loved Google Plus, and I was an advocate for that, but they never did anything. They never helped us. They never were there. They never answered our questions. Well, Blab is actually there. They're in these sessions. You can get somebody in here for help within 5 minutes. They're listening. They're developing it. They want it to be successful. So for me, this seemed like a natural place to go. My first Blab was 3 hours long. And it could have gone on longer because it was like so exciting. And then, as the novelty wears off, you kind of start tapering your shows down to appropriate times, which is good. Sure. But it just, I like the interaction. I was not a Periscope person. I tried really, really hard, but my ADD would kick in. My phone would stop going. I'd get distracted, and then, it just wasn't working for me. Some people knock it out of the park, but it just wasn't working for me. So when this came along, it brought the best parts of Google Hangouts to me without all the trouble involved and all the negativity involved, where I try to get people to come on, and it was like asking them to jump through all kinds of hoops. So this was just like a natural fit for me. And I posted something up here earlier. It goes, all right, am I sure it's going to work? No. Am I hoping it's going to work? Yes.
Right.
But if it doesn't work, guess what? Live streaming is here to stay, baby. It ain't going to work. So whether it comes on Facebook and we're fighting people with cat videos doing shows all day long, we're going to go there and do them, or whatever else opens up. It's changing the world we live in and how we communicate.
I agree.
So brings back to a point that I asked Joshua about. Might you now start considering how you might use some live streaming? I don't know how you could use that in your campaign for Rethink Homelessness.
Well, I can give you a perfect example. So last night I actually found out that one of the people in our cardboard storage video is getting a home after being homeless for 20 years. So next week he's actually moving his own place. I don't know that we'll necessarily live stream him moving in, but sharing those kinds of milestones as they're actually happening is incredibly impactful. I know whenever I've been there to witness this happen a couple of times where people have moved in who've been homeless for decades. And I mean, if that doesn't hit you at the core, I don't know what will. And to be able to experience it as it's actually happening versus seeing a video of it. I'm seeing a video of it, a week later is still impactful, but it's just not the same. And so being able to live stream, that kind of situation, and be able to show where they were literally 2 weeks ago, and now they have a living room and a kitchen, that just hits you in the feels.
Is that what you posted about yesterday? You posted something yesterday.
Yeah.
So. Oh my God.
And that's why I'm not saying who it is specifically. We need to talk to him to make sure that everything's on the up and up as far as being able to share his story, because again, we always want to share when something like that happens. We want to share it immediately. We want the world to know that things are happening and that people's lives are improving. But it's also just as important that he's able to have his privacy. And so obviously he agreed to be in the cardboard storage video, but he agreed to do that. He didn't agree to do anything else. And so every step of the way, we want to make sure we go back and we re-engage and we get permission and everything's okay. And that they understand, why, and we want to understand why they want to continue to share their story. So.
Yeah. So, all right. So let's, so Mission and Personal probably is still listening. So if you were a musician or an artist in general, trying to get maybe your message out, launch your career, any of that, Jean, what would be your go-to just for you personally? What would be an idea you could throw him?
As a musician?
Or an artist? Using social media. I'll start with mine.
No, I was going to say, give me the question again.
So if I were Johnny and I was trying to launch my music career, I do like the idea of live streaming using YouTube. You've seen plenty. Justin Bieber get their start on YouTube. But I know at least Twitter, because that's my favorite social media, there are plenty of tweet chats. So I'm imagining there's probably a music industry tweet chat that's out there in some form. And if not, start it. And that's a great way to attract other musicians and like-minded fans. So, Johnny, if you're not familiar with tweet chats, Google tweet chats. What's a tweet chat? And then try Googling tweet chats about musician tweet chats, and see what comes up. So that's my suggestion. John.
One of the things, there's a couple things that I would do. One, I'm kind of avid on SoundCloud, and there's a lot of indie artists that are up there, and they're posting their music. And what's nice about it is that throughout the whole track, someone who's logged in and who has an account, they can put a comment on, wherever at whatever time point to say that they liked it, or this is great, this was a great riff, this was a good review, whatever. And so that's a great way to kind of engage, right? That's one way. Another way would be, I would say, to use, even though Google Hangouts it may not be as popular. I do like it too, just like you do, Chef Dennis. But if you were, for example, to be doing a recording session and set up your phone or set up something so that way you can just turn it around and have people log in, and then they could see you live, doing your practice sessions or wherever that you're at. That's another way to do it. And then going back and get a GoPro and set up a GoPro and get some really cool angles that normally an actual camera couldn't be in, behind the drummer, right behind something or whatnot, and use those, and then take some snippets and then post those, because you could do up to 15 seconds on Instagram. Put those snippets on Instagram. Start a hashtag and keep that hashtag. I know Lewis is asking about a hashtag for this show, which we have to create one, but start a hashtag and use that hashtag throughout all your mediums. And see how that develops, see how people use it, see how people engage with it. Those are some of the ideas that I have off the top of my head.
All right. So, Joshua, you want to go next, or Dennis?
Sure. Yeah, I'll go. So I would say take a step back, and it's not necessarily about the platform that you're choosing, but it's about your tactics and your strategies on that platform. You can spend a lot of time on Twitter and get no traction. You can spend a lot of time, on SoundCloud, creating stuff, posting your links to Twitter, and still get nothing, because all you're doing is creating a song, putting it on SoundCloud, sharing the link, and just trying to get people to listen to your link. Instead, back up and spend some time looking for people who do the things that you do, and communicate with them and support them. And by the way, now that we've been talking for a while, would you mind listening to my song? I get hit up by people all the time that, their first interaction with me, like on Twitter, for example, you follow them and then you get a DM from them immediately. Hey, check out my book. I don't care about your book yet. I don't even know who you are. Why do I want to read your book? Talk to me. Yeah. And I'm going to see that you are an expert. I will begin to understand that you are an expert in what you do. And then I'm going to ask you about your book or what you publish. And then I'm going to want to read it. And then I'm going to want to share it, assuming it's good quality. But when you start off by following me and then instantly saying, hey, do this for me. No, we work on a debit credit system, and you need to make some deposits before you can make some withdrawals.
Oh my God. You need to put that on a quote.
Point that, right?
I like that. That was really good.
Awesome. All right. So, Dennis, you just posted something, Daria Musk and Heather Faye.
Yeah, they're two friends. Heather I know more personally than Daria, but Daria was the one that really kicked it off on Google Plus Hangouts, and she actually got the team to create Hangouts on Air with a studio mode so she could perform. She got tired of dragging her equipment around to clubs, playing for free and trying to get someone to listen. So one night after a bad night and weather, and I think she was up in the New England area, she just decided to do a concert from her house. She did it, and that was what began her career and has launched her into worldwide. She spoke at TEDx. Heather Faye is also a friend that started. She started with a Kickstarter campaign to raise money for her first album. And I gave, because Google Plus at that point had given so much back to me, I donated money to her, and we became friends from that point. She's been on my shows. She's sung, and I've had musicians when I did Good Day Google Plus. Yeah. I had bands, I had different musicians on, and I've been trying to drag them over here. And Phil Aston is a big one, and he's over in Cornwall, England, and his wife Sue is a concert violinist, and she is amazing. But they're so used now to the studio mode that they're afraid to come over here and sound rough. I tell them, you play in a park, you play in a concert hall. This is the park. You want to get people's attention by playing in the park to get them to come to your concert hall. So this is the fight we're having with some of them on that side of it. But it can be done. I mean, this live streaming media catches people's attention. And the problem is, the first few times you do it, first 10 times you do it, you might be playing to two people. You got to be patient. You got to give it time. You can't go in there and say, nobody's watching me. Why am I doing this? You just got to keep doing it and keep doing it and keep doing it. And you'll reach a point where you'll say, well, it's either working or it isn't. But you can't, we've become so we want immediate gratification.
Yeah, we do.
We develop that as a society. Well, it doesn't always work that way. So you got to be patient, and I guess this is the wisdom of being old. I learned this over the course of time.
It's experience.
Yeah.
I agree. Well, I also posted one more, just that I'm aware of. When I was at when I was in New York visiting a friend, we went to the Guitar Man in Central Park, and he was using, I posted the link to it in the chat room, Concert Window. And so it is made for artists to live stream, but you can sell tickets to the live stream. So you can charge people to watch your live stream. So Concert Window, I put the link in the chat room. So you might check that out, because I know you can't always be a starving artist. Sometimes you got to make some money too. Yeah.
I did want to address one real quick thing, if I could. Luis is saying about how we need the lower thirds and all that, and a lot of people are trying to create this into Google Plus Hangouts and Air because we loved that format. We just didn't love how they did it for us. Step back from that. Be happy with what you have here. People are trying to use Cam Twist and ManyCam, and all they're doing is creating junk. They're just creating distractions. This is about a conversation with 4 people. We're in the same room right now.
I know.
And we're having an organic conversation. We don't need those bells and whistles that distract us or detract from the conversation. So, as things go on, they're going to be adding some things, but don't push it to try and make it something it isn't. Just like people tried to push Google Plus to be Facebook. It wasn't. It's be happy with what it is. This is a new format, and they're going to learn from us as we go along.
Fantastic. Great tips. And I'm going to do one last review before we're running out an hour now. So we're probably going to sign off fairly soon. But just for all of you new to Blab, up at the top, there's a bunch of bubbles up there. You can see the heads. If you hover over them with your mouse, you can see their bio, and please follow them if they look interesting. So that way we're growing this. So, hey, Dennis, thank you for joining. Thank you for introducing me to the Blab format. Appreciate it. So, Joshua, thank you for joining. How'd you like your first Blab?
It was fun. I enjoyed it. I like trying out new stuff. Now I have to figure out how I'm going to use it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's the thing. And I think, Joshua, you hit it home with why be on here. Make sure you have your goals clearly in mind. And if this is not meeting it, then don't do it.
Right.
Yeah. So I'm doing it to promote Blog Talk TV. It's my weekly television show. If you get Bright House, you can watch it on demand, channel 999. It's one of their local on-demand shows where we do all sorts of blog tips and feature and showcase bloggers. If you live in the Virginia area, you can get it on Cox 11, and it's shown weekly there. So we're in season 2, so I hope you'll check it out, Blog Talk TV. So, John, thank you for co-hosting. You got anything to add? What you got coming up this coming week?
Oh man, I got so much coming up this week. Today I'm actually going, which is actually ironic. A friend of mine is doing a talk about using Periscope for business. I have to look up. I'll post it on Twitter later. Okay. But I'm going to that just because I really didn't get on Periscope too often, but I also wanted to support what she's doing, and also just to see if there's anything new about it that's relevant that maybe I should get into. Luis Valencia had been challenging me a while ago with doing my photo shoots that I should be recording them, and so I've been trying to do that. I just have to get consistent with doing that and editing them and putting them out there. You can definitely find me at JP Design Theory on Twitter and jpdesigntheory.com. But for me with this show, it's just more of I like being accountable to you, Bess, and doing this every week. It's really, really fun for me.
It's fun, hasn't it?
If nothing else, just to do it and kind of learn from other people and give some insight where I can. Now that I've met Josh, that's fantastic. I'm totally enthused and inspired by what you're doing. And look forward to seeing more and learn more from everybody else in the show.
Fantastic. So, Joshua, where can people find you if they want to follow more about either you or Rethink Homelessness?
At Joshua C. Johnson, across several different platforms, Instagram, Twitter, and then at Rethink Homeless on Instagram and Twitter, and then on Facebook as well.
All right. Well, big thanks to Dan McGaw and Johnny of Mission Impersonal and Ask Chef Dennis for joining today. Guys, I think that's it. I got work to do, so I got to go.
We all do. Yeah, but this has been great.
Thanks, everybody in the chat room for joining in, and I'm going to stop recording, guys. We'll see you next Tuesday at 10.
Thanks, guys.